Children of the sun, children on the run, all your dreams are gone. Children of the dream, all your dreams are gone. Children of the sun, a new day has begun. All dreams reappear, making magic with the sun. Children of the sun, children of the dream, all dreams reappear, making magic with the sun. Children of the dream, peace on Mother Earth. Hi, my name is Dan Lehner, and last year, in the spring of 2020, I went down to the US-Mexican border to see what was going on for myself. There I met Dora Rodriguez, the founder of the organization Salvavision, and I decided to work with her right away as soon as I met her. I had already been doing a fundraiser in Ashland, Oregon. So this is my friend's art done to my poetry. He specifically did the art to each poem. And what I'm doing here is raising money for those folks who have nothing. I don't think we realize what this country's done to so many places in the world in our name. And it's time we stand up, say something, and help out. I have also put a book together called The World Without Borders, with art and my poetry, both in English and Spanish, that we are in the process of getting published. 90% of the proceeds go to Salvavision to help the folks on the border. Once the book is published, you can purchase it at salvavision.org. I will be reading poems from this book and also showing some of its art. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Peace on Mother Earth. My name is Dan Lehner, and today we're gonna be talking about the border and the U.S.-Mexican border and the issues revolving around that. And my guest today is Dora Rodriguez. Hey Dora. And anyways, so that's the show for today. Hey Dora, how's it going?
Hey Dan, pretty good, thank you. Very hot in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
But we are start getting some rain. So and soon.
Been hot here in Oregon too, so.
I am very sorry. I know I heard the news and I was thinking of you and, and your friends out there and everybody because it seems very hot.
Yes, very hot indeed. So I feel really for the people, especially for the people stuck in the desert right now with no, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, wow, what if I was out there, especially when it gets above 110, I can't handle that. So when it gets to be 120, I can't imagine what that's like being out there like that. You got to be a tough person to begin with, but that's really brutal.
Right. And it's sad to say it, but it happens, and it happens every single day in the border towns of the Southwest in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 5 border areas, and people is crossing, and it doesn't matter the temperatures because right now we're dealing with the heat, and then we have the winters. They are very cold too. So at this moment, we do have a lot of migrants. They are crossing, they get lost, and they die. It's that quick because the 110, 115 weather will take you if you're in the environment, if you're outside in the desert, with no water, because usually they run out of water within a couple days. And if they're lost, it's very rough to make it.
And no shade in the
Very
desert.
little.
Very little, yeah.
Very little. They have those, the palo verde, it is called, the green tree, which it does not, it's a beautiful tree and it's a beautiful desert, but it is deadly because you're right, it is no shade.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get lost, the desert, it looks just the same. So you don't have no sense of direction where you're going. Or you think you are walking or going the right way, but you are not. It is probably just taking you more into the desert. So it's very deceived.
And your organization's name is Salvavision, and you've
Yes.
been doing this for quite a while. And what led you to do this is you personally went through an ordeal on the border yourself, a quite tragic one. And if you want to go into that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the space. Thank you for the opportunity to share, my story, and it's a story of so many others. I'm just, for some reason, I was given a second chance of life. But yeah, in 1980, I was only 19 years old, and I came from El Salvador. I was fleeing for a civil war. Our country had started a civil war when I graduated from high school. So I started seeing a lot of my friends being murdered, being killed, and it was very scary situation because I was the prime target for the government to be, arrested for no reason, taken somewhere and being disappeared, because that's what they did to all my friends at that age. And then usually they would come in the middle of the night, get you, disappear you. And what happened was that um, a lot of people would have just tell the government, oh, I think this person looks suspicious, or this person is the guerrillas, or this person is a leader from a group. And so it was no questions asked. They would take you and they will kill you. So the war lasted for 12 years and ended up killing 75,000 or more Salvadorians. And as we know, the war was led by the United States. It was financially supported by the United States. So, with that said, I left my country with, uh, I tried to come into this country three times. Two times I was caught at the border. I was sent back to my country, deported in the same year. And then I tried the third time with the smugglers that we pay them in El Salvador. You know, we got to know this. There was three guys putting an ad in the newspaper that they were, you know, taking people to the United States, and it was a safe trip, and everything was great. So I mean, when you're young and you're naive, and I never done that before with a smuggler, you trust that. You said, "Oh, it's better for me to go with somebody who knows the way over there because I already tried twice and I failed." So for me, that was it's better. And the reason I was doing that is because, like I said, I was only 19 and I wanted it to go to the university. I wanted it to become a social worker, and that was a no-no because a lot of the students in the field fighting for such a social justice were getting killed. So my mother and her brothers and my aunt in California decided to help me financially. They paid for my trip. At that, we're talking 40 years ago, and at that time it was $2,500 for me to, to pay these people, and we did. And the bus when we left in July, no, June 28th. That's when we left El Salvador with a group of 45 Salvadorians. So it was 46 of us in that bus. And we did all the journey through Mexico, but we did not have legal papers throughout Mexico. And then when you travel like that, you're in a lot of trouble too, because if you get caught by the authorities in Mexico, they'll get you and they send you back or they put you in jail. So I remember the smugglers, the Salvadorian smugglers, would ask us to get out of the bus and anywhere in Mexico. I don't even know where we were. It was just a desert. It was just areas that we never seen before. So I remember by the third day when we are in the areas of, actually, I'll take that a little bit back because our problems really began in the border of Guatemala and El Salvador because we all didn't have the appropriate documents. So the smugglers had to pay under the table to the authorities in Guatemala to let us cross. So when we crossed Guatemala, we had to do it in the river. So we were in these large tubes, like yeah, that the large. How do you help me with this one?
Oops, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we went in there, and then that's how we crossed the river. And you're talking women with babies, women with children, to cross to the other side to Mexico. So right there, we were already illegal helis, like they call us, breaking the law in Mexico. So we got in the bus. We all made it to the other side in the river. Got in the bus and started our journey in Mexico. By the third day, I remember we were being stopped and asked to get out from the bus, and we would walk for like 6 hours in fields that we didn't know. Sometimes cornfields, sometimes the pure desert in Mexico to avoid the authorities in Mexico. So by the fifth day, we got to the border of Sonoita. Sonoita is a border in Lukeville, which is in the west area of Arizona, and is next to Oregon Pipe. It's a beautiful desert. I mean, people come from all over to enjoy this beautiful desert. But like I said, it's beauty with so much sadness and tragedy because it's a graveyard. In that desert, there is not only my tragedy, but so many others that happen. So when we got to the border town of Sonoita, and the Salvadorian smugglers got a hold of two Mexican smugglers. They apparently they knew the way through the desert. And I tell you, we did not. I have never in my life saw a cactus, and nothing, no desert. I never knew how it looks like. Our country is a tropical green area, so we never knew, and we had never experienced the heat. We already knew it was hot in that desert because the night before they made us sleep in the back of a truck waiting for the next day, and then the night of the next day to see if it was appropriate for us to cross that night. So it was 46 of us, but half of the people was sent to the town of Yuma, Arizona. And I'm so thankful for that because it was the women with little ones. But for us, the young people, including three sisters, a 12, a 14, and a 16, were asked to cross the desert and by Lukeville, by Oregon Pipe. And we just didn't have enough water because we were not told that the temperature was going to reach 117. We were not advised of that. We were not told to wear the appropriate shoes. So some women were wearing high heels. I'll continue with a night that we were asked to cross. Back in the day, there was no, at the Arizona border, they didn't have these huge walls that they have now. So it was pretty easy for us to cross. So, but we did not know that the night was going to begin with cholla cactuses that were going to stick into our skin, and because it was so dark, so we didn't know where we're going. But and our story is with 6 days of the journey in the desert, with people dying around me because of the heat and thirst. And not so much of hunger, but thirst. And then by the third day, we were drinking our own urine, our own pee, because, we ran out of water. So the tragedy was really, really hard to remember. But someday we can go over and say details of this or of my story, or if anybody wants to listen, uh, the story, they can go into my website and it is there. Because what I can say is, at the end of 6 days, 13 people died, 13 people survived. I am one of the survivors. And what it marked me the most for the rest of my life is that the three sisters that died, they were only 12, 14, and 16. And I feel to now, it's very painful for me to remember this part of the story, because I always fail that I always feel that I fail them, even though I was in the same shape or worse, or I don't know. They when we got rescued, we were told that we didn't happen now, we will die. So it's tragedy, but that's how it led me, to start being involved with the immigration issues for all these years. So we'll continue next time, I think.
Yeah, that's really heartbreaking to hear stories like yours, Dora, and that's really like I'm trying on this end to try to stop what the cycle that we're all caught up in, and it's not right. And I don't think any of us like it. I don't think us Americans like any of it. At least I don't. So that's what I'm doing on my side with my poetry and trying to fundraise and whatnot. And anyways, so here's a poem that addresses that issue.
They burned my paradise to the ground. I was an angel, but my wings caught fire. They burned my paradise to the ground, oh holy ground. I was an angel, but my wings caught fire. They burned my paradise to the ground, oh holy ground.
So the situation on the border over the last 4 years has gotten worse, I'm sure.
Right.
More people and more crime, more cartels, more gangs, and more military on both sides.
Right.
More
Right. Yeah, and then the policies, have changed drastically. I mean, things were changed overnight. For example, we have a lot of asylum seekers in different border towns. And in July of 2019, July 16, a new rule came out of nowhere that no one was allowed anymore to ask for asylum. Everybody had to remain in Mexico waiting for their turn. Well, it was no turn for anybody. It was just a waiting period. So the border towns really were crowded. They had a crisis because, I mean, it still is. You had thousands of people living in tents and waiting to see if they would have a chance to tell the authorities in the United States their story of why they were fleeing their country, why they came all the way from Venezuela, from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Nicaragua, from Brazil, for anywhere. You know that they're being persecuted, that they're fleeing because of violence. So that rule came out of nowhere with no one knew. The lawyers didn't even know that was happening or it was going to happen. So that really hurt everybody. And it stayed for the rest of the last presidency. It stayed in effect, until now, what, about a month ago, that we start seeing more asylum seekers giving the opportunity to tell their stories and giving humanitarian parole so they're able to come in legally to this country. But a lot of those laws have changed, and then the pandemic came, and then the pandemic gave us another rule that is called Title 42, that is based on health. That if it's an epidemic around the world, according to this, people could not enter the United States if they prove that they had the virus. But none of these migrants that have been returned since March of 2020 were tested. So it was like, oh, okay, we have a new rule. We get all these people and we send them back with no dual process, with no chance to say their story. So it is very punitive
And
in the border towns.
in the situation, for example, down in Hunt,
And but and then when they got to the border after they had walked already maybe 5 days, they got caught. They got arrested by border patrol, and then they were just run them up, take their shoelace off, take their belts, take them to a car, a border patrol, van, and send them back to border towns. So I have been working very hard since last September in a little town called Sasabe. This little town it has nothing. It's very remote in Mexico, next to Sasabe, Arizona, which about 2,500 residents in that town. It has no transportation. It has no hospital. It has nothing, no shelter. It had nothing for our migrants. And Border Patrol was deporting 750 migrants a week in that town from all over, from Guatemala, from Honduras, from El Salvador, from Nicaragua, from everywhere. So you just picture these people, they've never been in that little town, being dumped at the border in the middle of the night with the freezing cold weather, walking to nowhere because there is no one to guide them beside the cartels. So they will again end up in the hands of the cartels. So we did a lot of work with putting the story in social media. We brought a lot of the newspapers. We brought the news to this subject because it was inhumane what they were doing at the border town. Because I don't know if our listeners know a little bit of the southwest border, but we do have about three more borders. They have the services for our migrants. They have buses, they have shelters, they have people waiting to help. So our cried out to Border Patrol was to deport these people to a right place to where they could get some help. And we got the New York Times. They came, they did a big story. NPR came, did a big story. And I tell you, within a month of doing that work, we were able to decrease the numbers from 150 a day deportation to about 20 a week in the town of Sasabe. So that was amazing, and we did it. We worked together with other organizations. Salvavision led that work, and then out of that, we decided to have a resource center in that town. So we gathered all the locals, all the people in that small town, and talked to them about the problem. And it is not only, uh, inhumane and criminal to do that, to send so many people to a place where that we're going to go back to the hands of the cartels with the criminals. And so we decided to get the locals and talk about this issue. And they gave us the green light to open a resource center. So we rented a place, we gathered people, we organized everything, and within 3 months, we opened our new resource center. So it's been open since May 1st, And I tell you, then, we serve hot meals. We bring dignity back because our migrants who have been lost in the desert sometimes for 4 or 5 days, they have blisters in their feet and their lips, they dehydrated. They can come to the center and they get some relief. They take a shower, they change clothes, they brush their teeth. The women get clean, they use hygiene products. And the best of all, we organize. If they need a ride to the next border town, we organize that. If they want to go back to their home country, like for example Guatemala, we are able to buy their bus ticket, you know so they can go back because they're done. They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
They're finished.
Yeah. So your organization, Salvavision, has done a lot to alleviate these conditions, and which is very good. And you would say that so things have improved a little bit in the last couple months under the new presidency. Is what you're
Yes,
saying?
they have. Just for the fact that we, as a humanitarian um, providers, because there's so many organizations in this side of the border. We work together, but at the last 4 years, in the last 4 years, we felt the pressure and we felt prosecutors many times. But now I can tell you it's a little bit of relief, knowing that we can sit down, we can talk about this issue, we can participate in meetings. Even I have participating meetings with the White House because they want to hear what's going on at the border. They want to hear the reality of the stories of how migrants are suffering. Like you were saying, that everybody hear the news, but that's not the reality. What the news tell you most of the time. So it is very important to have conversation. And for right now, for the last 2 months, we have a high number of asylum seekers. They have been waiting at the borders. They have been able to cross with the help of lawyers. We have a lot of volunteers, attorneys, immigration attorneys. They are working in their cases to process them, and it's been great. It's been great to see families. They are now reunited with their families.
Well, that's cool. That's good to hear that
Yeah.
that things are, I mean, getting a little better in some ways. And so you and me are working on trying to get this book of poetry out there, and 90% of the proceeds would go to the border. So that's where you and me are kind of working together. And I've been doing a fundraiser using my poetry to art, and I've been sending it down there to you. And people of Ashland, Oregon, have been fairly generous. And it's been kind of slow though with when everybody wearing the mask and all that. It's kind of like slowing things down, a little. But so that's what you and me have been working on. Also, like on the side, trying to get people to start thinking more from the heart. Trying to get these poems out there, I guess, is what is.
Yes. And I appreciate you. I love your poems. I think they're very strong, very good, very well spoken, and I love the awareness that they bring because they bring conversations. And hopefully someday we get your book print out and it's everywhere because it is amazing how you got inspired. But the reality, I remember you came to the border, and when I met you, you were just cruising around taking pictures and kind of living the day at the border. And I know it really touched you because you have not stopped.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be back soon. I'll definitely be
I
back.
hope you do.
Yeah,
I hope you do because we gotta show this to the world. What you have done is amazing.
I got them translated all into Spanish, so that's really cool. And the cards are gonna come out in bilingual, and any day now I'm gonna have the cards.
Yes,
In print because that's
incredible. It's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I wanted you to know too that you left me with a lot of cards, beautiful with your art and the poems. And a lot of those went to the detention centers,
Okay.
to asylum seekers who have committed no crime,
I-
but they are already there. They spent a year or more in detention, which is a prison.
No.
It's a prison. It's not different than any prison.
At a young age, I was in. I went to the federal court, the federal hearings. I saw they were all kids. They were all
Yeah.
kids. At that age, a year is like 20 years. You know,
Right.
that's just so wrong.
Or
Anyway,
you went to visit the Streamline, right?
yep, I went there. Yep.
Yeah, it was painful. But with the pandemic, they stopped that. So we're hoping that they don't practice that anymore because it's a very humiliating practice.
It is.
Yeah, they put them in shackles and they're attached one to another and they're walking just like the worst criminals that you can even think.
It's like
And crossing the border without appropriate documents is not a crime.
trying to survive is not a crime.
Right.
Not in my book. Not in my book.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dora. We're coming to the end of this program, and I'd like to read this poem that I wrote a few years back. It's called New Orleans Revisited, and it's about all the places that have been hit with tragedy. So this one's called New Orleans Revisited.
New Orleans, we are one. Japan, we are one. Iraq, we are one. Afghanistan, we are one. The Sudan, we are one. Palestine, we are one. Tibet, we are one. Turtle Island, we are one. The ghetto, we are all one. Into the new day, we are all one. Peace on Mother Earth.
Thanks for joining us today, Dora. Once again, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can all do a lot of great work in the future and help humanity come out of this horrible situation that we find ourselves in today.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. It's always awesome to see you. I love your work. I love your heart. Thank you for all you do for our brothers and sisters. And even though they might not know you personally, but I send you their spirit. I send you their good vibes because these people is humble. They are very resilient. They're strong. They're courage. So that's what we need to remember.
I know.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
Right on. Peace.
Bye-bye.